English Additional Language, Grade 5, Term 4. For your final exam for Term 4, Grade 5, the demarcation for the test is as follows. Section A will be a comprehension test for 15 marks. Section B will be language for 15 marks. And language could include comparative and superlative, direct and indirect speech, parts of speech, possessive nouns, prefixes and suffixes, punctuation, tenses, and some Curo workbook revision. Then in section C, it will be a visual literacy example, and section D will be summary writing. Section C and D both for 5 marks each. So for section A in your test, it's going to be a comprehension test. So you can really study for a comprehension test, but here are some tips for reading comprehension. So first of all, read the text. Second, read the questions. Then thirdly, reread the text slowly and highlight passages or answers to questions you remember. You can use a pencil or different colored highlighters to do this. Then fourth, write your answers. And then lastly, number 5, check your answers by comparing it to the text. So the first 3 steps are really important. Of course, you're going to read the text when you get it, but then go and read the questions. And then you go back to the text to reread it, and then you will find those answers to the questions that you do remember. Write your answers, and then again, always check your answers by comparing it to the text. So for section B, language in context, we're going to start with comparative and superlative words. In Afrikaans, it is trappe van vergelyking. So comparative is vergrotende trap. Superlative is oortreffende trap. So there are some pictures of comparative and superlative words. As you can see, fast, faster, fastest. Fast is the positive word, faster is the comparative word, and fastest is the superlative word. So if you look on the right-hand side, there's 3 columns. The pink one is positive, comparative is blue, and the superlative is green. Most words do have like big, black, bright, clean, starting from the second word. You'll see at the superlative, it has the word the in front of it. So big, bigger, the biggest. Black, blacker, the blackest. And then, of course, like in Afrikaans, there are some words that you just can't put into comparative or superlative because the word just won't make sense. For example, confused, the comparative is more confused, and superlative is the most confused. So the best way to figure this out is just to take the positive word and try to put an after the word, or est after the word. And if it just doesn't make sense, then you know it's probably going to have a word with more or the most in front of it. Let's have a look at direct and indirect speech. So let's start first with the direct speech in the blue block on your left-hand side. That is quoting someone's exact words in quotation marks. Very important, when you write or read direct speech, there's always quotation marks. Let's go through these 3 examples. First one, she said, I love vanilla ice cream. You will see after she said, there's a comma, then the first quotation mark, then I love vanilla ice cream, full stop, and then you close that speech with another quotation mark. Then the second one, take off your shoes. So with direct speech, you don't always have to say she said or he replied or whatever. It can only be this when you read it or write it. So take off your shoes, the quotation marks shows that someone is speaking. Then Joey said, we have netball practice today. So very similar to the first one, a comma after said, and then quotation mark, we have netball practice today, full stop, and then we close that speech with another set of quotation marks. Then on your right-hand side in the green block, it's indirect speech. So indirect speech is not using the exact words and not using quotation marks. So it is when someone said something and you have to tell someone else what that person said, then that is indirect speech. If you can just have a look there at the picture above, on the left-hand side, it's I will call you tomorrow. And then on indirect speech, it's a girl holding a telephone. And so she's telling someone else what the boy said to her. So indirect speech, not using the exact words and not using quotation marks. First example, she said that she loves vanilla ice cream. Second one, he told us to take off our shoes. And then last, Joey said that they have netball practice today. So if you have a look at all these three sentences, you will see some words have changed. She said that she loves vanilla ice cream. So a word has been added. It's the that. And of course, the I becomes a she because we're talking about her. Then the second one, he told us to take off our shoes. Why is he told us there? Because as you look at the sentence on the left-hand side that says take off your shoes, you know that is what he is saying. And of course, the person that heard him would know it is a he. So he told us to take off our shoes. And then lastly, Joey said that they have netball practice today. While she was speaking, she said, we have netball practice. But telling this, what Joey said to someone else, we just say, Joey said that they have netball practice today. So you'll see that is usually in indirect speech, not always. If you have the look at the second sentence where there's not a that. But I mean, you can always add it, saying he told us that we should take off our shoes. So there's plenty of ways to write it, but this is the most simple one. So next we're going to have a look at, apart from nouns, other parts of speech. The pronouns, adverbs, conjunctions, adjectives, and articles. In the blue block, you will see pronouns. Now, pronouns in Afrikaans is voornaamwoorde. A pronoun is just a replacement or a substitute for the noun in a sentence. For example, he, she, it, they, you, etc. So when we write something or we speak, we use he, she, or it to apply it to the noun. Remember the noun, we said it can be a person, a place, an animal, or a thing. So let's take the example of a person. When we say Carla goes to the shops, she buys a present because she's going to a party. The Carla we know is the noun because we know it's a person and she's got a name. But then we don't say Carla, Carla throughout the sentences. We use a pronoun to substitute the word Carla. Because saying those three sentences and using Carla's name the whole time just sounds silly. So if we say Carla goes to the shops, Carla buys a present because Carla is going to a party. We don't do that. We substitute her name with she. The little purple block, it's adverb. So adverb in Afrikaans is bywoorde of bywoordelike bepalings. An adverb expresses more about a verb and adjective. For example, quickly, slowly, sincerely, sleepy, those kind of words. Also, you will probably, most of the time, you will see that it's got a li or a y at the end of it, because that is applicable to the verb and the adjective. For example, a sentence is, she sincerely apologizes to the boy. Sincerely tells us more about how she is apologizing. So again, an adverb expresses more about the verb or the adjective. We always ask the questions who, why, where, and how. So again, she apologizes sincerely to the boy. We ask, how is she apologizing? She's apologizing sincerely. Okay, so then in the yellow block is conjunction. Conjunction in Afrikaans is voegwoorde. A conjunction is used to connect two or more different words or sentences. For example, conjunction examples is or, and, because, but, yet, etc. If you have a look here at the little rainbow colored half moon, there's a conjunction cheat sheet. So if you remember the word fanboys, you will probably use it until you are matric, because those are, each letter of fanboy stands for a different conjunction, which is regularly used in speech, in parts of speech and most sentences. So fanboys, you will see the F is for, the A is and, the N stands for nor, the B for but, the O for or, the Y for yet, and the S stands for so. So just an example where we have a conjecture between two sentences. So we combine those two sentences. He likes space. He likes astronauts. Then we just say he likes space and astronauts. So you can just have a look at a few examples in your workbook and just see if you can identify the conjunction. Then in the peach colored block, the adjective. An adjective in Afrikaans is byvoeglike naamwoord. So an adjective describes more about a noun or a pronoun. Remember, a noun, that is a person, a place, an animal or a thing. So if we say, this is a brown table, the brown is the adjective because it says more about the noun. The noun is a thing, which is a table. Or we can say, the pretty girl runs towards her mother. Pretty is an adjective because it describes the noun, which is the girl. There are many examples in your workbook, so just have a look at that. But always a few examples: intelligent, hardest, tall, fat, pretty, colorful, those kind of things. Then that is an adjective. Then lastly, here below in the green block is articles. So articles in Afrikaans is lidwoorde. So an article is a word that comes before a noun. We get indefinite articles, so that's in general. It is a that comes before consonants, and of course an before vowels. Indefinite article, when we use a or an, that is when we don't know something specific, like that is a tree outside, or that is a car driving in towards our house. Then a definite article is specific. It shows the. For example, the boy eats an apple, or the girl buys a dress. If we say the girl buys the dress, then we kind of know what dress we are talking about. It is specific to that dress. But when we say the girl buys a dress, then it can be any dress, and we don't really know what dress we are talking about. So that is just the difference between an indefinite article and a definite article. And just remember, a comes before consonants like tree, car, pool, and an comes before vowels. An apple or an owl, etc. When the word starts with a vowel, we know we're going to use an. So you can just take a second to pause the video and go through this grammar exercise or part of speech exercise. On your left-hand side, it just shows how you can dissect a sentence. So when you get like the old tired man was sitting, then you should know what word stands for what part of the speech. So the, like we just discussed, is an article. Adjective, old tired, it tells us more about the noun, which is the man, and was sitting is the verb. So always when you get a sentence and you're asked to dissect the sentence, take a highlighter or a pencil and just circle or highlight the different parts of the speeches so that you could know and figure out what each word, what part of the speech pattern it is. And then on your right-hand side is part of speech exercise. It just gives you a few sentences that you must identify the word that is printed in another color, whether that's a noun, a verb, or a pronoun, adjective, etc. So let's have a closer look at possessive nouns. In Afrikaans, possessive nouns is besitlike voornaamwoorde. Myne, syne, joune. So forming possessive nouns, we get singular nouns, one thing, singular noun, and then plural nouns, more than one. Let's look at singular nouns. If it's a common noun, just add S. So it's a dog, one dog. So it's apostrophe S house, dogs' house. Books, words, girls' dolls, etc. If it is a plural noun, if the noun ends in S, then we just add that little apostrophe sign. For example, boys. Boys ends with an S, so we just put that little apostrophe. It's the boys' ball. Tables is legs, etc. But if the noun does not end in S, then we added just also apostrophe there with an S at the end. Women's bag. So that women is already plural and it's not ending on an S, so it's an apostrophe S. Children's doll. Children is also the plural of child, so again, apostrophe and then an S, dolls, etc. Then on the right-hand side, just explaining it a little bit different, the subject, who the person or the subject of the sentence is. Then you get the possessive pronoun and the possessive adjectives. So those pronouns, the first person I, its possessive pronoun is mine. So I want to buy a ball. That ball is mine. Or it is my ball, the possessive adjective. Then we, the possessive pronoun for we is ours, and the possessive adjectives is our. Second person. So, subject, you. The possessive pronoun for you is yours, and the possessive adjective is your. Third person. He. Possessive pronoun, his. Possessive adjective, his. Subject of the third person, that's her. The possessive pronoun is hers, and the possessive adjective is her. Subject of it. In third person, possessive pronoun is its, and possessive adjective is also its. Then they. The possessive pronoun is theirs, and the possessive adjective is their. So let's have a look at prefixes and suffixes. Before we do that, you will see there's an elephant on your screen. So the body of the elephant is the word. The trunk of the elephant is the prefix, and the tail of the elephant is the suffix. So we can give a prefix to a word, or we can give a suffix to a word, or we can give both to a word. So some words only have a prefix, some words only have a suffix, and then we also get words that has both a prefix and a suffix. So let's look at some examples of prefixes or suffixes. So in the green block, you will see pre, then dis in the purple block, anti in the blue block, and miss in the red block. Let's just go through. Pre means before. So preview, we're having a preview of the movie. That means you are viewing the movie before other people. Preview. Preschool, prevent, predict, or previous. Then let's have a look at dis. Dis means not, or the opposite of. Disappear. So the opposite of appear, disappear. So you will see we put a prefix before appear and the whole word changes. It becomes the opposite. Then next, disagree, disqualify, disappoint, dislike. You will see through all those examples, it's the opposite of the meaning of the word on its own. Then anti, in the blue block, that means against. Antiseptic, antibiotic, antisocial, anticlimax, antidote. Then in the red block, miss. Miss, if you put that in front of a word, it means wrongly. So it's a mistake, miss. Mistake, first one. Misbehave, misheard, misfortune, and misunderstand. Let's have a look now at suffixes. On the right hand, you'll see it's ship in the green block, less in light blue, if in orange, full in purple, and meant. There's also at the bottom, nes, li, ik, ion, and ward. So ship is membership, internship, ownership, etc. Less is endless, useless, speechless, homeless, careless. Then if, active, informative, creative, expensive, expressive. Full, cheerful, stressful, delightful, fearful, painful. Mint, development, excitement, achievement, argument, statement. And then at the bottom, less regular used, ness, witness, lovely, poetic, celebration, and inward. So with punctuation, we're going to have a look at the full stop, the comma, the question mark, the exclamation mark, and capital letters. So of course, full stop, that just ends a statement. For example, here at the bottom, you can just see the examples. I am tired. I'm not screaming it. I'm not asking someone, am I tired? I'm just stating, I am tired. Full stop. They drive to school. Full stop. And the third example, Sandra wants to visit her grandmother. Full stop. Now the next one, comma, that shows a pause and it is used in lists. So here at the bottom, the lists that we just spoke about, it is mom has to buy milk, bread, rice, and cheese. You are listing quite a few items, so we use commas between it to show the different nouns. Then, to introduce someone, my dog, Stuart, loves to play in the mud. You will see Stuart is between two commas. That is just basically saying my dog, just give a little pause, Stuart loves to play in the mud. Then before quotation marks, like we discussed in direct and indirect speech, she said, comma, quotation mark, I love you, full stop, quotation mark. So that comma is always before the quotation marks. And then before, but, and so in compound sentences. I want to go, but I need to stay here. So remember, comma is always used before but, and so. Then thirdly, the question mark. A question mark is at the end of a question. That's quite easy. Do you like the movie? Did you read the book? Where are you going? Can I join the game? So immediately when you see the question mark, you know a question is being asked. Then exclamation mark, that is at the end of an exclamation. Exclamation is usually when you talk a little louder, or you are screaming a bit, or you are excited. Then we use an exclamation mark to show the reader that that we are either excited or scared or angry. It shows emotion. So examples at the bottom: Polly, don't touch that. So as soon as we see the exclamation mark, we see that this person is warning Polly to not touch something, right? And they're saying it a bit loud, so Polly don't touch whatever she wants to touch. Then the next one, stop. So if there was just a full stop, like saying stop, then we know there's not a lot of emotion. It's just a statement, just saying stop. But because there's an exclamation mark, we know that this person is warning someone to stop. Then help, a snake bit me. You will see that help shows this is a crisis. And of course, it's always a crisis when a snake bites you. Then also below that, I am so excited. You can just see with the exclamation mark that whoever is saying this or writing this are very excited. And then last, Amanda, come over here. You can see there's 2 exclamation marks. So this person is probably screaming or yelling at someone to come over here to Amanda. All right. Then lastly, the capital letters. Capital letters are used at the beginning of sentences, and they are used for names of people and places. So let's just read it, and you will then see at the different places and people, and also businesses, because something. Let's just go through it first. So Barbara Jones lives in a seaside town in West Coast, South Africa. She goes to Kiro Langebaan and buys her stationery at Checkers in Laguna Mall. So you'll see, of course, Barbara is her name, that's a capital. Jones, her surname, capital. Lives in a seaside town in West Coast, South Africa. So if there was in a seaside town in the west coast or west of South Africa, then of course that won't be a capital. But because West Coast is a name of an area or a place, that is with, then it's with capital letters. And also South Africa, it's a country, so it starts with a capital. Then she, it's the beginning of a sentence. That's why that is a capital. Goes to Kiro, which is a school, the name of a school, Langebaan, the town, and buys a stationery at Checkers, the name of a shop, in Laguna Mall, a name of a mall or a place. So on this page is a punctuation exercise. Just pause the video and then go through the sentences on the left-hand side as well as the text on the right-hand side, and see if you can identify the punctuation errors that is there, and then you can just say which ones are wrong and correct it for yourself. So on this page, we're just going to have a quick overview of the tenses that you have done this year, but very important, this is just an overview. So go through your class work and your workbooks and make sure to do some exercises to structure your sentences correctly. So the English verb tense, in Afrikaans tenses, we use tyd, verlede tyd, teenwoordige tyd en toekomstige tyd. So in English, the English verb tense is past, present, and future, just like in Afrikaans. But what is different in English than it's in Afrikaans is you get types of tenses. So the 2 that we're going to discuss is simple tense and continuous tense. Simple tense, also past, present, and future. Examples of this is I studied English yesterday. That is in the past. We just changed the word study to studied Then in present tense, I study English. And then in future, I will study English. So the word changes in past tense, the verb, and it becomes past simple tense. So then we get continuous tense. So continuous, another word for that is progressive tense. Let's look at past. I was studying English. Present, I am studying English. And future, I will be studying English. So it's the verb plus ing. That is how you know, first of all, to identify continuous tense, and secondly, how to write it. And then, of course, the was, am, and will be is very important when you do continuous or progressive tense. So at the bottom, let's look at the verbs past, present, and future tense. Verbs are words that show an action or state of being. So the verb tense tells when the actions happen. And when the verb tense changes, the verb often changes its spelling. The three major tenses are, of course, like we just said, past, which is yesterday, earlier, long ago, last year, etc. Then present, that is today, now, currently, as we speak. And then future, which is tomorrow, later, next year, next week, etc. So if we have a look here at the little girl example, word is run. So the past is she ran yesterday. The word changes. Present, she runs past me today. So you'll see when it's singular, it gets an S. Then future, she will run tomorrow. There again, in future, the run loses the S because it gets a will. Let's just go through it again with run. If, for example, you get a sentence, she runs past me today, which is present, simple present tense, and you have to convert it to past or future. Then past is she ran yesterday. So the verb changes, ran. And then in future, she will run tomorrow. So the progressive or continuous tense is formed when you add the helping verb to be and the suffix ing. So past continuous is she was running yesterday. Present continuous, she is running today. And then future continuous, she will be running tomorrow. In section C will be visual literacy. Like in Afrikaans, it is kind of exactly the same, the visual text examples that you may get in your tests. Now, let's just have a look at a few text examples. That can be advertisements, posters, billboards, cartoons, illustrated jokes, branding, etc. And here on the right-hand side, you will see some examples of those visual texts that you might get in a test and in this section. Let's go to the next page and then we will discuss it in more detail. So for visual literacy, visual text comprehension uses images and words to convey a meaning. And every person's interpretation of it may vary. Like we saw in Afrikaans, each person's got an individual way of looking at a picture or at something someone says, and then interpreting it to find a message behind each picture or words that's used in the visual text. So let's just have a look at the blue block. Remember, the purpose of visual text is to influence the reader. Second point, it can be superficial or have a deeper meaning. So superficial means it's a funny little picture with some ironic speech bubbles, etc. Or it may have a deeper meaning that conveys a deeper message. So it makes the reader think a little bit more about a problem or something like that. Third point in the the purple block, the reader relies on prior knowledge and experience to interpret. So when you have a look at a picture, your previous experience changes the way you look at it. So for example, let's say there's a picture of a war and you have a look at all the war and fighting going on and you have no experience of it, then you will see something that applies to your experience and your knowledge. But if someone that's gone through a war in another country looks at a picture or a visual text of war, then of course they will have a whole other experience and set of knowledge that will apply to them because they have first-hand knowledge of what's going on in a war. Then text can be interpreted differently. We just spoke about that, and it must be understood within context. So it must be understood within context. You have to look at the whole picture. So when you have a look at it and you see some things that makes you laugh, then the visual text will probably be something funny, but then someone again can look at it and it won't be funny at all for them. So you must understood within context and have a really good thorough look through all the information that's given to you to come to an answer. Then left, information to look out for, the colors used. So sometimes a cartoon, for example, can just be black and white. So they then will rely on other information within it to explain or give you more information. Then size. 3, the captions. So if we have a look here at this cartoon, when schools reopen, that is the caption. So we know they are giving us an idea when this scene is taking place. Then what characters say, so that is usually the speech bubble, what all the characters are saying to each other or to themselves or whatever. Then symbols used. Symbols can vary. For example, in this picture, there's some symbols on the green board there at the back as well as behind the teacher. Then focus, foreground and background. Foreground are usually the things we see first. But then there's some little details at the back or that's smaller that we have to look out for because that also conveys a message. Then angle taken. Is it funny? Is it sad? Is it ironic? So if we have a look also again at this picture on the right-hand side, what's the artist trying to tell us? So is it funny? Some people will find it funny. Other people, probably teachers, will find it chaotic and not so funny. So that's just say the angle taken on a specific visual text. Then tone, atmosphere, feeling. You can just have a look at this picture and you can realize, it's just a crazy scene. Kids are running around, there's papers everywhere, the teacher is like grabbing her hair. So you can immediately, by just looking at the picture, tell what the feeling is, the atmosphere, the tone of this text or this picture. Then, very, very important, number 9, the facial expressions and emotions. So if you have a look again at the picture, you just looking at the teacher, you will know, or you will be able to tell just by her facial expression that she is tired or it's just a very crazy atmosphere around her, so she feels overwhelmed, for example. Then 10, context. Context, again, you look at the whole picture, at everything that's been said, at the caption, at the colors, at the sizes, all these things. And then you kind of understand what the message is being and what they want to portray. So if you have a look at the questions underneath the picture, 2.1, describe what is going on in the cartoon above. 2.2, explain how the teacher feels, referring to her body language and facial expression. And then number 3, do you agree with the cartoonist? Do you think this will be the situation in the classroom? Motivate your answer. So first of all, we can see the kids are wearing masks. Sam is wearing it on their head, over their eyes, over their mouths. So immediately we know this cartoon has something to do with COVID. So the caption, when schools reopen, that'll tell us that this scene is taking place after COVID, um, whilst kids were at home for very long. So they're bringing their masks in, and there's some set after COVID. So that is what you will then explain in your own words at number 1. Then number 2, explain how the teacher feels, referring to, again, body language and facial expression. Just by looking at the teacher, you will see she's overwhelmed, and yeah, so you can get 3 emotion words that applies to her, and then you can write it, because also, again, you can see it's 3 marks. And then lastly, again, do you agree with the cartoonist? Do you think this will be the situation in the classroom? Yes or no, you can decide. And then just 3 things, how you agree with the cartoonist or disagree with the cartoonist. So for section D, you're going to be writing a summary for 5 marks. So a summary is a shortened version of a longer reading or story that tells the main ideas. So here's some tips for you to remember in how to write a summary. So for example, if you have a look at the 5-finger retell, the first picture, that's usually used when you have a fictional story. So it's just like a story, like the tortoise and the hare, and then you use these main ideas and details. And at the bottom, we've got the 5-finger summary for something that's not fictional. So it's like a document or a news article, something like that. And then we use first, next, then, and finally. So let's see on how to write a summary and how to use both these hands when doing a summary, either for fictional or for non-fiction. So how to write a summary. First, it must be told in sequence and volgorde. So you cannot start with the ending of the story when you write your summary as, in your summary, the first point. It must be in sequence. Then, secondly, it includes the main ideas, details, and the theme. And it can be written in 3 to 5 sentences, depending on the question. So if the question is, summarize the following text in 3 to 5 sentences, or in 4 sentences, or in 10 sentences, then you must summarize that and make sure that you do not exceed those sentences. So first of all, tips on how to do it. The first tip is read the text carefully and understand the question. So sometimes they will not ask you just to summarize the whole piece. They will, for example, ask you to summarize the feelings of the character in the story or that kind of thing. So please read the question, understand the question after you've read the text carefully. Then you go, the second tip, and locate the information in the text. Use your 5-finger retell hand to identify important information. Now that retell hand, you will see at the thumb, it's setting, then it is characters, problem, events, and solution. Very important to learn that hand. What is the setting? Who are the characters? What is the problem? What events are taking place? And then eventually the solution, the ending of the summary. Then thirdly, use different highlighters or pen to underline the following: the settings, the characters, the problem, the events, and then the solution. So it'll be easier when you start writing your summary to have those a few things, those 5 things, and then to write it accordingly. And then the last point, number 4, use the 5-finger summary hand to write your summary. So, for example, we said the words first, next, then, and finally. So if you use those 5 things, then whoever reads your summary will know exactly what happened first, what happened after that, and then finally this happened. So understand what information also is important and what can be left out. So if you do your summary, Do not use words that describe something very specifically. Understand what information must be relayed on the summary, and that information is important because without it, you won't really understand the text. So the summary must be really short, but it must have the most important information. So if someone reads your summary, they must at least know the most important information that is contained in the text. And that's it, guys and girls. Good luck with your exam. Study hard, and I really hope you do well.